You're listening to PROX.
But I didn't really separate what I liked in that from what I liked in Eric B. and Rakim from what I liked in like Chris Claremont or whoever, you know what I mean, was writing the comic books at that time that I was reading. Like, it didn't really click to me that these guys with language, like that, it's levels.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It was no delineation.
It was no delineation.
Like, no forced. This is serious.
Right.
This is goofball
That's right.
stuff.
That's right. And I think aesthetically, like, that's kind of one of the places that we come together, because what we recognize, I think, if I could speak, is that there are things that actually have very, very high artistic merit, but manage to speak to large numbers of people nonetheless.
You're listening to In Proximity. Ta-Nehisi Coates is the author of the best-selling books The Beautiful Struggle, We Were 8 Years in Power, The Water Dancer, and Between the World and Me, which won the National Book Award in 2015. He was a recipient of a MacArthur Fellowship that same year. Ta-Nehisi also enjoyed a successful run writing comic series for Marvel's Black Panther and Captain America. He is currently writing the screenplays for an upcoming Superman film and the film adaptation of his first fiction novel, The Water Dancer. In September 2022, Ta-Nehisi returned to his alma mater, Howard University, as the writer-in-residence, in the Sterling Brown Chair in the Department of English. Around that same time, he worked with us at Proximity Media to host and write Wakanda Forever, the official Black Panther podcast, which told the story of the making of the film Wakanda Forever, co-written and directed by our founder, Ryan Coogler. With Ta-Nehisi in New York and Ryan in the Bay, they sat down to talk about Ta-Nehisi's writing process and influences. As you'll hear, these two know each other very well, so the conversation took some unexpected and fun turns. We wanted to keep all the good stuff, so we divided their conversation into 2 episodes. The first episode is about Ta-Nehisi's early writing experiences and the impact of music, and specifically hip-hop, on his and Ryan's work. The second part, which you'll hear next week, is about Ta-Nehisi's writing process. Here's part 1.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Ryan Coogler. I'm a writer, director, and producer of film and television. And I'm also a founding member of Proximity Media. And I'm here with my good friend, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I'm Ta-Nehisi Coates. I'm a writer. And I am here, I'm honored to be here with my great friend, Ryan Coogler.
Man, that's a little, you do more than just write, right?
No, not really, right? I mean, a little bit, but no, not really. No, that's mostly, I teach. I mean, I do a little, you know.
You got a business?
I do.
What's it called for the people?
Wow, I don't think I've talked about this publicly. It's called Maceo-Lyn, and it is a production company.
What do you guys make?
TV and film, hopefully. Our first project was an adaptation of Between the World and Me for HBO by my good friend Camila Forbes, who's also one of the principals at Maceo-Lyn, and who I've been collaborating with since I was in college. The principals are herself, my wife, Kenyatta Matthews, and it's the 3 of us. And we've been, at this point, working together for most of our lives. And we just decided to formalize it.
That's amazing. And where'd the name come from?
The name came from my son's middle name, Maceo, and our son, me and Kenyatta's son's middle name, Maceo Samari Maceo Paul Coates. And Camila's beautiful daughter, I'm laughing because I'm picturing her right now, Satya-Lyn Fenton.
That's amazing. So it's named after you guys' children.
Yeah.
And you working with family and friends. That's beautiful. It's a lot of parallels.
It's really all family, man. I don't like I said, I've known Camila the majority of my life at this point. Kenyatta and Camila have known each other since they was 12. So it really is it helps to think about it as a family business. You know what I mean? Like that helps the work actually.
How long have y'all been going with Maceo-Lyn formally? It sounds like y'all been working together forever, informally, but like how long has the company been a thing?
So formally since, God, that would have been like 2020. We sold the rights to The Water Dancer. And when that book came out, I was, fortunate enough and blessed enough to receive quite a bit of interest from Hollywood folks. But I didn't at that point, honestly, Coog, I knew you and like one other person or 2 other people, you know what I'm saying? And so it was like, I didn't know who was asking for it. And there are real horror stories about writers signing, away their work
Right.
or signing away the rights to their work to, production companies and filmmakers who they really don't know. And I had worked on that book for 10 years. It was my pride and joy. It was my baby. And I just couldn't see myself giving it up. And the only person who was really, really close to me at that point, like I said, outside of you, who had, some amount of showbiz experience was Camila.
Right.
Who was, artistic director up at the Apollo here in New York, in Harlem. And so I called her up, and we decided to do this thing and, ended up and got lucky and found some other folks to collaborate with, in terms of on the producing side and, was lucky enough to sell it. And we just kind of proceeded from there.
So take me back to meeting Camila. Did you both meet at Howard?
We did, man. I mean, this is like where, it almost dips into me and you. You know what I'm saying? It's wild. I mean, you get to a point, it ain't too many of us, brother. It's beautiful and also sad. But basically, in high school, I had really, really wanted to be a rapper. And I loved MCing. I loved the literary aspect of it. Me and you was having that conversation earlier this week. And I was saying, I just had this realization. I really need to accept that I'm a pop culture dude. And that's just what it is,
A pop culture dude as opposed to what?
I guess a kind of high literary person, which I thought I was. And I always perceive myself as kind of being.
Right.
And I always got this, running debate about whether you're an artist or not.
Right.
And I still maintain that you are, you know what I mean? Very much so, you know what I mean? But I did get some perspective on what you were saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But basically I had, I wanted to be a rapper. I came to Howard, and that first year I was at Howard, Nas's Illmatic came out, and I realized that I had no hope. It wasn't even I couldn't, do it that well. It was I couldn't do the bad version of whatever that dude was doing. Lyrically. I mean, he just...
Right.
I mean, to this very day, I go back and listen to that album and ask myself, am I writing with the kind of impact, efficiency, not just Nas, but at the best, the best of folks? I mean, today, even like that a Kendrick does it.
Yeah, totally.
Are my sentences sticking in that way? And they usually aren't, but it's nice to have that as an aspiration. So came to Howard, gave up on that, and I started in on poetry. And a mutual friend of me and Camila's, was actually Camila's man at the time, would do these events, these open mics, and Camila would help him organize, and we got tight. And, and the reason why I was saying that, it's where me and you intersect is because Camila was in the School of Fine Arts, and with her, and running with her was, of course, our great friend, Chad Boseman.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the beginning of it. And I didn't realize what that meant. In some ways, it's the beginning of me and you even sitting here talking. You know what I mean? Like we are.
Yeah.
And that is... It's crazy when you're young to know, this ain't practice anymore.
Right.
The tale is being told right now. You know what I mean? We're in those opening scenes of Act 1 right now. Right now.
Totally.
Right now.
Yeah, no, looking back, I understand. It puts it in perspective, man. Like when I was young, I remember my parents would be so serious about what I was doing and so adamant about being conscious of who I was hanging out with, where I was spending my time, And then being an adult looking back, it's oh yeah, the game had kind of already started. You know what I mean?
It already started.
Yeah, and you don't realize it till you're older. When you're that young, you was probably just in college, just trying to find yourself, right?
I knew the vaguest sense I had. I mean, to this extent, I was lucky because I did know I wanted to write. I knew that very clearly.
How long did you know that? Can you remember not knowing that?
If you consider rappers writers, no, I can't. No, I can't. I remember being really, really small, just really, really, young, and being at the local rec center, skating, and then playing, Melly Mel's The Message, and me listening wow, what's this dude doing? You know what I mean? And the words, I mean, obviously I like the music, but the words just hit me so hard.
Bro, it was the same for me, bro.
Yeah, you talk about Tupac like that, right?
It was Pac, but also I've spoken a lot about the first time I saw a movie in the theaters that I remember, and I was with my father, and he took me to see Boys in the Hood. The thing about that is, that was Ice Cube on the screen for me, right. And I knew who Ice Cube was, because I knew his music. I knew him as a rapper. But my parents were, they had me early, mid-20s.
Oh, so they young.
And they were
young.
Of the hip-hop generation. They still listening to black music in all forms and pop music in all forms, but rap was them. My pop knew Hammer. He worked in the hall in Alameda County, when I was real young. in Juvie, and like he would talk about Richie Rich coming through there and Too Short coming through there. And like he came up with Hammer's brothers. And like Hammer was like the biggest thing in the world when I was in kindergarten, and we knew he was from Oakland. Like people would say they were his cousin, and like they were oftentimes telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? But I can remember my childhood marked by like what rap songs were coming out, what I was listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's interesting hearing you talk about that. It was the same for me, bro. Like we used to write rhymes on the. Bro, I was so young writing rhymes, bro. It was on that paper. You know that paper where they used to call it the ground in the sky, like the dirt, the ground in the sky. You know it's got like the dot in the middle. The lines would be super big.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Is this like you practice your hand writing on it? Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They had a dotted line for like the height of the lowercase.
Exactly. I know exactly.
Bro, we used to write rhymes on them, bro.
Wow.
Like that's how young we was.
Incredible.
Like
that's incredible.
But I mean, you got to get into it. Like I think you got to get into it deeper, man. Because like I remember you telling me a story, bro, that I haven't gotten out of my mind. Because you tall, right? For people who listening, like it's podcast, you can't look at Coach, and you probably seen him sitting down. You probably seen him like on the back of a book in like a author profile shot or whatever. You see him sitting down on a late night show or whatever, or getting interviewed on some. How tall are you, bro?
6'4".
All right, so
it's useless. I don't play ball. It's useless.
But no, what's funny is, bro, you was telling me you've been tall your whole life. People would ask your mom if you played basketball. What would your mom say?
She said, "No, he reads." She got offended. She'd be pissed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the 80s, you know what I mean? Early 90s, and somebody saying, you know what I mean? Like with everything that's going on. She's like, "Nah, he reads." She would say it like with that, "No, he reads," like with an attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just thought that was so great.
Like how dare you look at him and think that, And I did. I mean, I read a ton, man. Like just going back to what we was talking about, the whole pop culture piece, I really didn't have in my mind that it was a separation between, I don't know, like I read the Odyssey in high school, I read Shakespeare in high school, and I really liked Shakespeare. Like I really like, I could feel the poetry in what he was doing, like even at that young age. But I didn't really separate what I liked in that from what I liked in Eric B. and Rakim, from what I liked in like Chris Claremont or whoever, you know what I mean, was writing the comic books at that time that I was reading. Like it didn't really click to me that these guys with language, like that is levels. Right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Or Gil Scott-Heron, who my parents used to play a lot, or even just like whatever R&B I was listening to that I thought was really, you know what I mean? Like that was like really, really, beautiful. Like you listen to some Isley Brothers songs and, Voyage to Atlantis, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't come up, like there were a lot of books in my house, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't come up in a family where it was like, Ta-Nehisi, cut off that, hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Stop reading them comic books, come read something serious, read this fish. Like, I didn't really have that.
It was no delineation. Like, no force. This is serious, right. This is goofball stuff.
That's right. And I think aesthetically, like, that's kind of one of the places that we come together because what we recognize, I think, if I could speak, is that there are things that actually have very, very high artistic merit, but manage to speak to large numbers of people nonetheless.
Yeah, I think so, man. Like I always had this feeling, man, like just coming up and liking things and being young and black, like coming up in the 90s, being from Oakland, that like segregation of genres, of topics, you know what I'm saying? Like that is BS.
Yeah.
Like I always feel like it's somebody else's hand in there. It's a feeling I ain't been able to shake, even professionally, man. Like this suspicion of like, man, who's saying that this is better than this?
Yeah.
Or that this is more valuable than that? And as soon as that exercise happens, somehow black people always get the short end of that stick. Right. So I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to, I don't want that around. The idea that like, oh yeah, this type of movie is a real movie, whereas this is not, or this type, like me and you talk a lot about groups, right? You got like a Wu-Tang shirt on, we talk about like Bone Thugs and Outkast, right? I mean, I feel like we had that conversation like who like the most impactful rap group, you know? Them three groups would come up, you know, NWA would come up, you know what I'm saying? For like the youngsters now, I gotta imagine like Odd Future would come up, you know what I mean? Like but like with each one of them groups, even like within hip hop, it was always like, oh man, that's not real rap.
Definitely.
You know, Bone Thugs, they from Cleveland, man. You know, they singing and like, and, you know, what are they talking about? I can't understand what they saying.
I was that dude.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I you know, real talk. I was that dude. And part of my maturation has been to recognize that, look, the point of art is an emotional response.
Yeah.
And if you see all these people having an emotional response, but it's not sticking to what you delineate as the rules of the art, what the fuck are the rules for? Like, what are the rules there for? Like, are they? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up in the thick of it, you know, because there was a whole. I mean, I think part of this was although actually to a lesser extent, I don't think it was so much that. But this is, you know, like the whole East versus West, Pac, Big thing is going on.
Totally. But I remember, you know, the East Coast, West Coast thing broke out or what have you. You know, Pac was murdered, and then shortly after that, Big was murdered. And they were releasing this post.
I was so angry about that shit, man.
I could never, cause you knew Pac, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to overstate that. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of people say, I knew Pac, sure a lot.
No, what I'm saying, but you knew him in
I did.
In Baltimore,
I think a better way to
before he came. Before he moved
I
west.
mean, who I really, really knew, like who I actually spent time around was his mom and his sister, his little sister Setua. And my brother spent more time around him than I did.
Big Bill.
Yeah, the money did. He spent much more time. Like, I just remember him coming, going, hey, I'm Tupac. You know what I mean? Sort of coming and going. But I remember when came out, same song, and I was like, yo, it's Tupac.
When he's on when they bring him out on the
and
throne.
He didn't change his name or anything. You know what I mean? Which is what people used to do.
Yeah.
You know what, like Trouble T or anything like that. Like, it was, yo, it's Tupac.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
man, Pac was such a big deal for us, bro. Like bro, he was such a big deal for us, bro. Like I can't put it into words. Like,
and Coog, why? Like, if you can go, I mean, you know, it's obvious, you know, given how huge he is as an artist, but I just want, if you could just take it back and just say, like, why at that particular point, being there in the Bay?
Man, I think he was just us, bro. Like in the Bay, like we from the heart of where the Panthers was from. It was like every major black city at that time, we were under assault from like every direction, politically, resource strapped. And it was this feeling of conspiracy happening that you couldn't put your finger on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what we were feeling was what eventually was gonna happen. Like in 2008, the city was gonna be taken from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't gonna be a black city anymore for too much longer. You know what I'm saying? But there was also this chip on our shoulders, this bravado, a toughness that was required to survive. You know what I'm saying? And this complex, like these complex gender relations. You know what I'm saying? Like in the Bay Area, it's a place that's like, we talk about this a lot, man. Like we grew up on music, bro. I would never want my children listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of like what the words is saying. You know what I mean? Like, and we listened to it. And it was a part of our culture, but at the same time, we knew better. We felt guilty about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was all of that.
Is that like I Get Around I mean? And like it's and what you call it? Keep your head up.
I Get Around. He can make I Get Around. He can make Keep Your Head Up. He can make Dear Mama, and you believe it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you believe it's all coming from the same person because that was our cousins. You know what I'm saying? That was our uncles. Them was the dudes that was running our streets. You'll see them be manipulative. You know what I mean? But you see them look after their mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see them look after the neighborhood. So he just represented us in a way that you couldn't put your finger on. And we felt like he was the best. So take me back, bro. So it was hip hop, and at some point, did it become poetry?
Yeah, when I really actually it started happening my senior year of high school. My older brother, Damani, was a huge influence on me. He was a huge artistic influence on me. And he was the one that, like, when I was young, he was really into what was coming out of New York. And it was just like, he would just, we have different mothers. So, sometimes he would be living with us. Sometimes he would not be, or he would come over sometimes, whatever. But every time he came over, it felt like he had a different tape. Just different tape.
And this is in Baltimore.
Yeah, this is in Baltimore. And
like, what we talking, like 90 what?
No, this is, we talking 92, 90s also. But I would say from, God, what is the first time I remember? So my earliest memory of, like, that influence is probably about 86. I'm 10, 11 years old. So you got to remember, like, I mean, this is, like, crazy to say, but they didn't used to play hip hop on the radio, especially in Baltimore. Like, stations would advertise themselves as no rap. You know what I mean? Like, that was a thing you could do. That was a marketing device. But in Baltimore, there would be, like, a couple stations like V103 for us, and they would play it. Like, if you stayed up late, they would play whatever the hot New York shit was, right? Again, no internet, shit is very, very regionalized.
Yeah.
So I can remember just sitting outside, you know what I mean, on the porch in the summer, you know what I mean, with Bill, that was his name back then, with Big Bill. And we got the boombox on, and he's waiting to hit record for when they gonna play I Ain't No Joke. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like I have that, you know what I mean? And then
that's Eric B. and Rakim, right?
Yep. Who again he was probably the first dude, but I was like, yo, this sounds like a book. Like, I was like, yo, this sounds like literature. Like, what is this man doing?
That's That's
it.
Yeah.
Pass the P sample. Yep. But I was just like, what is this man, you know what I mean, doing? Later, in this journey, you're the journal, I'm the journalist. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Planets as small as balls of clay. You know what I mean?
That's alliteration, right?
But you know what?
Journal, journalist.
And that got me cool, right? But rappers do that all the time. But what really got me was like, what is this metaphor mean?
The picture you paint.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the metaphor though here? Like,
he writing on you.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's literally inscribing. But to say it that way was like, what?
It's like 7 different poetic techniques in one line.
That's right. That's exactly it. Exactly it. And so, like, rappers were really, really the first and most influential people I heard do that. So he would, like, so my brother, he would come through, he'd be like, yo, you gotta check out the Jungle Brothers, yo, you gotta check out De La Soul, yo, you gotta hear this, yo, did you hear Dope Mans from this group NWA? You ain't heard Dope Man? Yo, you gotta hear Dope Man.
It's crazy, bro.
You know what I mean? And like, I'm in
Dope
middle
Man,
school, you know? Like, I'm a kid, you know what I mean? But I'm putting this on, I'm saying, oh, this is Ice Cube. Oh, okay, who's that? You know what I mean? So he had a huge influence on me, and then when he went to Howard before me, he actually started writing poetry.
Okay.
And so he would come home, because he used to rap, and I started rapping after him, and we would go record things together, you know what I mean?
You was just chasing your brother.
Very much so. Yeah, it's my idol. You know what I mean? It was like, you know what I mean? It's my big brother. But in the background of that, actually below all of that, I think more importantly was the moment where hip hop was really breaking out as pop music. Below that were certainly people like me, you know what I'm saying, who felt like part of the reason why this was happening was a lessening of the artistry. And maybe some of that was true, but here's the trick of it. It's not clear to me now, looking back, that all of the shit I would have said was more artistic actually was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not clear to me that that's actually the case. And so I really have had it's funny, man. Like, even as somebody who said that, I wasn't raised with that delineation. Bro, I had to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny just even talking about Nas, man, because it's like, yo, Illmatic hit me so hard.
Yeah.
And shaped my life so much that I would say up until maybe 5 years ago, everything that man released, I compared to Illmatic. Now, how unfair is that?
Deep.
How fucking unfair is that? Here you are in a particular, like, and I think about you in Wakanda Forever. What if a motherfucker sees Wakanda Forever, right? And it's like, this is the most incredible shit I've ever seen. We hope that happens, right? Like, changes somebody's life, young artist coming up, you know what I mean? Filmmaker, or maybe not even a filmmaker, in something else. But that it totally changes their trajectory. And everything you do after that They say, why is this not Wakanda Forever? Given where Wakanda Forever came from and the specific circumstances that it came out of. And then you recognize like all art is kind of like that.
It's like a foundational habit that we have. You know, it just so happens that, you know, it can become a bad thing when applied to art. You know what I'm saying? Like people ask like me, and I had to learn this about myself, bro. Like people ask me, hey, man, who's your favorite filmmaker? And for me, I had to say, you know, after, you know, studying the craft and basically like only like while I was in graduate school, only doing movies, you know what I'm saying? Making them, watching them, thinking about them, discussing them with other people who wanted to dedicate their life to it. And I realized just like, man, you know, it's better to not have a favorite filmmaker and better to have like favorite films, you know? Because I can remember, man, like I can remember discovering Jacques Audiard, French filmmaker, and I discovered him with a film called A Prophet, which is to this day, you know, if I had to pick a favorite movie, it's probably that, right?
Here's where I pause you and say that for like 6 months, every day almost, you texted me and said, but the real question is, why haven't you watched The Prophet? You're talking about something totally different. But the real question is, Coach, why you ain't watched The Prophet?
I'm just bowing. I'm doing my duties as a little brother, but just be a pest. You know what I'm saying?
You was right too. That shit's incredible. It's incredible. I don't think I'm disclosing too much, but you know, I've been working on Superman, and at one point I think I texted you and I was saying like, and I don't really want to get this too much energy, but people who act like this superhero comic book shit is easy, especially when you're trying to say something. Now, I mean, and that's the key point, right? Because you can point to all sorts of forms where people don't say shit. You know what I mean? Like just don't say nothing. But if you are in a form and you're trying to use the form to say something, bro, that shit is hard. That shit is fucking hard. And then it causes you to assess everything else that, like, I could never review. I used to, you know, pretty much make my bones as a music critic and as a book critic, right? I can't review anything again. I can never review art. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
I couldn't imagine, man. Like I have a hard time judging anything, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like specifically like publicly and also there's this thing like where like people are giving, like it's like almost like academic / like Yelp review style of things where it's like, hey, this many stars out of this many stars, or I get this movie, I get this album a 7.8 out of 10, or I get this film a C-. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all like I look at it all and as a person who makes things personally and now with a production company, I help others make things, you know what I'm saying? The more I do it, the more I like I question everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, it's correct. And look, I think definitely there's still a role, because everybody's not gonna be that. You know what I mean? Folks are gonna be, fans, and they're gonna be consumers, and we need them to consume. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want them to consume.
I think like that with me as I'm getting to my late 30s, bro, like I'm learning that with art, man. Like I like to watch things and like check back in like in a couple weeks, a month. Am I still thinking about this thing? You know what I'm saying? If I find myself thinking about something, quoting it, still reliving it, weeks later, months later, that's when I say, oh man, this thing is good. You know what I'm saying? And every once in a while, you get those things where you listen to it or you watch it, and it's like this thing has always existed. You know what I'm saying? Like you find I find myself, if I was to think about like Get Out or Moonlight, these are two examples, right? If I think about like when was Moonlight made?
Yeah.
In my mind, it feels like it's always been made.
Yeah.
Same with Get Out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I say, man, this dude in the sunken place, you know, it's strange to think, man, that movie only came out a few years ago.
And now it's in the vernacular. I would say after the past 10 or 12 years, because it's been about 10 or 12 years that I've had the opportunity to do, the kind of larger things that I always dreamed of, it's been humbling. It's been really, 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 really humbling. And it is, made me look back on just some of the, you know what I mean? Some of how quick I was to judge, you know what I mean, about certain things. Here's the other thing, Coog. We are not kind to artists who do the same thing again. You know what I'm saying? Like then you accuse, hey, why you do the same thing? Why don't you do something new? You know?
Sometimes we are like I could think of. It's just so many ways to do it, man. But it's some filmmakers, man, who kind of like I think in film. I'm trying to think in music, man. If it's anybody who kind of can give you the same thing, but maybe it's cutting deeper each time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I know rappers like that who I felt like that about. I can definitely think of rappers I felt like that about. Like, again, this was a very early influence on me, like G-Rap. I mean, G-Rap was always G-Rap.
Oh, cool, G-Rap.
Yeah. And, I mean, he was another one, man. I heard that, and I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I just was like... And it's so funny, like, to be hitting that way and to be here all these years later, and it's like, yo, I'm trying to get back to that.
Totally,
like,
bro.
If I can make somebody feel like I felt when I heard that, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll have actually done something, you know?
100%, bro.
That's part 1 of this conversation with Ryan Coogler and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Come back next week for part 2, where they dive into writing and directing. In Proximity is a production of Proximity Media. If you like the show, be sure to follow, rate, and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. And tell your friends and loved ones to do the same. Seriously, you can do that right now. Send a link to someone who you think might really like this conversation. Learn more and read transcripts of this episode and others, and get a link to Wakanda Forever, the official Black Panther podcast, on proximitymedia.com. Don't forget to follow @Proximity Media on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. The show is produced by me, Paula Mardo. Executive producers are Ryan Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, Sevo Hanian, and me. Our theme song and additional music is composed by Ludwig Göransson. Ken Nana is our sound designer and mix engineer. Paulina Cherizova is our production assistant. Audio editing for this episode is by Cedric Wilson. Special thanks to the whole Proximity Media team and to you for listening to In Proximity. Meet you back here next week.
I remember after Big died, or he was murdered, and they were playing Life After Death singles on the radio, and that Notorious Thugs came on, bro. Yeah, I went back and listened to it. I was like, bro, these dudes are insane. Like they used to cut the song on, like on 106. They're playing it in mixes, and because it's a long song for that, even for that time. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like All the Bone rapped on it and Big. So you get so it's like, you know, that song might be like 4 minutes long, you know, and on the radio they'll cut it short. But bro, like Lazy Bones verse, bro.
Cool. Who's the one that's like, beg your pardon, the Martin, and we ain't marching, we shoot?
We ain't marching. That's busy. Beg your pardon, the Martin, baby. We ain't marching. We shooting. Yeah.
Nah, that's incredible.
That song is insane, bro. Yeah, Paula.
Tell us we going on.
She's like, yo, this is not
Y'all are way off topic. What happened to my topics?
It's not a hip hop podcast, guys.